So if you had, each of you had maybe two or three key takeaways, what advice would you have for executives, for innovators, for leaders, for HR leaders who are looking to build an innovation and inclusive culture in this hybrid and remote environment?
Think simple, right? Be curious and think experience, right? Not everybody's experience is going to be the same.
And I would say, divest before you invest. So as opposed to, and we'll do this, and we'll do this, and we'll do this, or we could do this, or this. Great people know that success is more often than not about what you take away versus what you add. If we're going to try something, make room for it. So divest before you invest. Second, ask the genius question. And here's what that is. What would this experience look like if it were easier? Now, not easy. I mean, easy implies a destination that might not be realistic. Easier says, how could we go on a 5-minute fix, iterative journey of discovery together, where a little bit at a time, we're building some momentum and making something easier. Last, I would offer, people will often say to me as a point of resistance, well, you don't understand how busy I am. And I'm sure I don't, but here's what I have discovered. When I'm struggling to find time for what matters or make room on my calendar or be more present with my colleagues, I have found 3 questions and a bonus question remarkably useful in creating space and time. 3 questions, the bonus question. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, does it have to be? 2, does it have to be me? 3, does it have to be me right now? And bonus question for the win for every person working in corporate America. Does it have to be a meeting? I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. No.
Yes, exactly, right? Especially in this remote world, the fear is if it's not a meeting, what can't be done, right? So I love this last one, the last question that you asked there.
If you create other ways for your employees to be seen, they don't always need a meeting. It's possible to get more face time in less time if we're thoughtful about how we construct that.
So folks, we started with the question of how can leaders create an innovative and inclusive culture in a hybrid or remote environment, right? That was the question that we had, and we tried to kind of break it down further. I'd like to kind of summarize some of the key learnings from our discussion today. Well, first and foremost, I love the definitions. Karen talking about innovation is a discovery. How can we make something easier and simpler through innovation? And then, Kate, your definition that simplicity is the new innovation. Challenge the status quo. But if I kind of had to take a step back and say, okay, what were the key learnings? What is it that leaders can do in order to create that innovative and inclusive culture? I think the first thing is that create that kaleidoscope identity, right? Where each individual element and person has a identity, but as a whole unified shape, it also has its own identity. I love that point of creating a kaleidoscope entity. Kate, you talked about identifying those moments that matter. We talked about onboarding in the metaverse. Karen, you talked about writing a letter on the first day, my career dream, hire to retire, right? That dream career, those milestone check-ins, aspiration to action. Loved that. Some of these are immediately things that we can take and even as leaders put them in our daily lives. Karen, you also talked about creating a different type of leadership skills and leadership culture. Leaders as orchestrators of outcomes, helping employees build that network of networks and creating the companies as communities, that sense of belonging, ownership, right? And a way in which, Kate, you talk about leaders need to meet people where they are, that it's literally a different type of leadership culture that we need to create. And then Karen, loved your catchphrase of belonging is bonding, not blending. the whole concept of masterful adaptability and, blending is not the same. And that authenticity, the belonging, creating that bonding. I love that piece of advice as well. So, folks, 3 steps that you can take and start immediately. First and foremost, don't wait. Get started. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Think simple, be curious, get started. Second, actions speak louder than words. Hold each other accountable. Start by creating that foundation of the core values that Karen talked about. So, when it is a business change, a macroeconomic change, you and your team and your company and your organization is able to manage those sways if you have that strong foundation and you build that the way Karen described it. And then, if all else fails, start with the 5-minute fix. Get on this iterative journey of small changes and small fixes and start on this journey to create this innovative and inclusive culture. Doesn't matter whether it is in person, it is hybrid, or it is remote. Thank you so much for tuning in, and a big thank you to Karen and Kate for the time today. And please don't miss out and check out not only the Accenture research on Net Better Off, but then also all the great books that Karen has published. Thank you, folks.